Hello, good evening, and welcome to tonight's edition of Daily Record Hotline Live. Special edition tonight. We're going to concentrate on Celtic's next Champions League match tomorrow night in Italy against Atalanta. We'll be speaking to Michael Gannon, who's in Bergamo right now. And
you try to speak Italian?
Yeah, and I've also got a recording. I caught up with Gazzetta dello Sport's Fabio Licari earlier on today. Good old friend of mine, the top man with the top sports paper in Italy, for his verdict and his sort of Italian view on what to expect tomorrow night. I think you'll find it all rather interesting. I'm also joined by Fraser Wilson, but the most, and I don't mean this against Fraser in any way, shape or form, the most interesting thing of all is for Celtic fans. We have some breaking news right at the top of the show, and it's not good news, I'm afraid to say. Cameron Carter-Vickers did train today in Glasgow, but has not made Celtic's flight, did not travel with the team to Italy, and will play no part in the game tomorrow night against Atalanta. Greg Taylor's also out. So Celtic not with the problems to seek. I think, you know, the sight of Cameron Carter-Vickers back on the grass this afternoon will have excited a lot of fans, because he obviously makes the defence a lot more robust. Fraser, I think that one's a bit of a blow. I think that Brendan Rodgers must have been hoping that he had an outside chance at the very least.
Aye, Keith, I've only just heard that in the last 10 minutes, and I think as you saw, it was a proper oh no moment. For some reason, I was confident Carter-Vickers was going to be fine. I thought they was maybe just being rested against Aberdeen at the weekend. Which
almost as if they were giving him the time to get ready for this one. Yeah. That's what I felt as well. But
well, I guess that's maybe what they were doing, given the fact he's not made it. He needed that time. I just seemed convinced that he was going to play, especially when I heard he was training. That is a body. That's huge. That's huge. Cameron Carter-Vickers, we've all said it, is an absolute rock in that defence, and without him, they just become rocky. We've seen it. We saw it against Dortmund. It's frightening to think that we're going to have to go. Celtic are going to have to go with Liam Scales and also
Freudian slip there, Fraz.
Really? No.
I can confirm that your credentials as a Dunhamer are beyond reproach.
And I'm equally balanced anyway at all. I can't believe I'm actually make this point. What were we actually talking about?
Well, we're talking about the fact that Celtic were going to have a dangerous time. This trip has alarm bells all over it, but it might have felt a little bit safer with Cameron Carter-Vickers there to shore up the back.
That's the word, Keith. Safe. I mean, everyone knows their safest central defensive pairing. It's funny, I was speaking to Ryan Stevenson earlier on today on Hearts Matters, and he was talking about partnerships on the pitch. And when he played with Hearts, although he was a forward, as soon as they knew Marius Zaliukas and Andy Webster were the pairing at the back,
secure,
he instantly felt better walking onto the pitch. He instantly felt like almost they were a goal up. So it's the exact same thing for Celtic, particularly going to Bergamo against an Atalanta team who I think are the top scorers in the Serie A at the moment. They have Italy's number 9 leading the attack. Having seen what happened in Dortmund without Cameron Carter-Vickers, and look, he's no superstar that's going to stop Waves attack on his own, but he's so important to that defence that I've got to admit I now fear for Celtic.
Well, the other way of looking at it, I guess, Fraser, is this the moment that Brendan Rodgers decides, I need to try and protect my defence. I need to be a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit less gung-ho in terms of my position in the midfield players. I need to keep it tight and compact and offer my back four a better degree of protection than they were given in Dortmund. Surely, this is the moment that Brendan Rodgers decides, even if it goes against the grain. And by the way, it's not about parking the bus. It's just about making minor tweaks. It's just about making Celtic more difficult to play through. Because I'm telling you now, I've watched Atalanta. I watched Atalanta destroy Liverpool at Anfield last season. If they can find holes, and they will find holes, and they'll exploit them. But they'll find holes no matter how Celtic set up. if Celtic set up as open as they did in Germany, they will cause real damage, and that's a concern.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, he should be more pragmatic, and I'd be saying the exact same thing if Cameron Carter-Vickers was fit and playing.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you'll know Brendan Rodgers, across his 2 spells at Celtic, no matter who they're playing, he just refuses to play that pragmatic card. Look, I would be tempted to go with 5 in the midfield and flood the midfield, 4 at the back, shut down all spaces, having watched where they were pulled apart in Dortmund. And there was a lot of Liam Scales and Austin Trusty being pulled into areas they didn't want to be pulled into, which obviously creates the space for the top level players to go and exploit. I just fear if Celtic don't have bodies in front of Scales and Trusty and the back 4 protecting those areas, the same thing's going to happen again. And of course, the players themselves have to be far, far better, no matter what way they're set up, because some of the individual errors in that Dortmund game, they were almost masters of their own downfall at times. Almost every goal Dortmund scored, you could go through, and there was a glaring Celtic error in the build-up to it. So there's a whole host of things that need to be far better tomorrow night if Celtic are to have a chance of even snatching a point.
But I find this fascinating, right? And I tell you, not least because we'll be speaking to Michael Gannon in a minute. Mick was at the Atalanta press conference earlier today with Gianpiero Gasparini, who is, a character. I would have loved to have been involved in that press conference. I've got so much time for this guy. But I think he was kind of saying that Brendan Rodgers is doing the right thing and sticking to his principles. I think if I was Gianpiero Gasparini, I'd be saying that as well before Celtic. Oh yeah, no, you crack on with that. Good luck, Brendan. Stick to your principles. I just can't believe, Fraser, that he won't make minor adjustments to try and make them more compact, to give up less spaces. As I said, to make them tighter, and to give Cameron Carter-Vickers, I was going to say, to give the centre of the defence some proper cover. Callum McGregor, I thought, was really exposed as well. So it was almost at times in Dortmund, it was Callum McGregor and the 2 centre halves and Kasper Schmeichel versus 3, 4, 5 Dortmund players pouring forward. I just don't think he can allow that to happen again, and I actually refuse to believe that he will. I think common sense will get the better of him here. But,
do you?
Yeah, I do.
That's what I'm really interested and looking forward to seeing, Keith, because I hope
I'm fascinated.
Steve Clarke gets slated for it, but from time to time he gets great results. Look at us defending like our lives depended on it to shut down that Portugal forward line last week. It's doable. I mean, you don't even have to really change the personnel. If you could pull the 2 wide men deeper into a 4-5-1,
exactly right.
Dazen Mida, and on the other side, whether he goes with Nicholas Kuhn or whatever, just start with a far deeper starting position, because they've got the pace to get in behind anyway and get them up the pitch.
Well, I was going to say, and that is one of the things that Gasparini's famed for. His defence defends really high. I mean, we talk about, you look at Brighton and Spurs down the English Premier League. Atlanta are that kind of on steroids approach. So, that does give you the opportunity for one ball over the top if you've got pace in the wide areas, and Celtic have got pace to burn in the wide areas. So maybe just by sitting a little bit deeper, maybe not trying to play through this press, which is rapid from Atalanta. And by the way, it's like an organised chaos. It comes from all over. Players that aren't, they're not sticking to a set position. They're fluid in the way that they go about the pitch. So next minute you're getting pressed by a guy you didn't even know was there 2 seconds ago. And Celtic can rely, and I think this was Neil Lennon's point in the Dortmund game, from time to time, you know what? Their defence is coming so high, it's not even a difficult pass to execute. Just knock it over the top, and you've got guys on either side, either flank, that can get forward and get in behind. And that might be Celtic's best chance of not just limiting the damage, but also maybe trying to inflict some on them at the other end of the pitch. That's what I would like to see from Celtic. As you said, Fraser, it's just going to be fascinating tomorrow night to see what the reality looks like.
Do you know who the best player to play that big diagonal into those spaces is? It's Kasper Schmeichel. He's got it in his locker.
Well,
Knock it back, suck them in, and he can just pop one right over the top for
that's the
either
one a
those
Premier
goals.
League based upon his assists. I mean, that's all you
Absolutely.
got, wasn't it? It was just his long balls over the top for Vardy, and it worked week after week, and the results kept piling up, and a miracle happened.
I really hope Brendan Rodgers tries something different. And if it sounds negative, I think everyone will understand and forgive him for it. If they can get out of that tie tomorrow with a point, it'll be a remarkable result. But I don't think they stand a chance with this current setup.
I'm just going to flag up tomorrow night. Obviously, the Celtic game's an earlier kickoff. We'll be putting back Hotline live, delayed start. We'll start at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. By that time, TV etc. have moved on to the next match. But we'll go through proper analysis and a review on what happened or what happens tomorrow night against Atalanta. I think what we'll do, we'll just have a listen right now to Michael Gannon, who, as I said, has been over in Italy since yesterday. When I spoke to Mick, we were still waiting to find out if Celtic's plane had touched down and if Cameron Carter-Vickers was going to be on it. But here's Mick from the stadium just before meeting up with Brendan Rodgers about an hour or so ago.
Michael Gannon, of all people, I have to tell you, I'm a bit jealous. Bergamo, any good?
I'll tell you what, this is a nice place, isn't it?
I knew.
It's proper, it's beautiful, the weather's gorgeous as well. It's fantastic. I mean, I must admit, I think the last place in Dortmund, it was a fantastic stadium and atmosphere and all that stuff and proper football.
Not too much.
The town, Dreich, bit drab. This is proper Italian town. It's beautiful, absolutely stunning. Already had a wee bit of pasta. As you know, you like your pasta, Keith, don't you? The wee bowl of pasta this afternoon. You wander around the old town up the funicular and all that stuff. It was great. Now it's time for business. I'm actually sitting on the seat where Brendan Rodgers is going to appear very shortly.
See that nice backdrop.
It's the closest I'll get to being a Champions League manager, that's for sure.
In fact, Mike, if you wouldn't mind just moving out the way so we could admire the backdrop, that would be great.
Well, I wasn't actually in the stands to give you a wee view of the stadium, but unfortunately I got lobbed out because the referees were training, and apparently UEFA henchman came and frog marched me at the door. Apparently you can't film when they're training. Goodness knows why. They're just doing laps around the pitch.
What they get up to? What are the referees? What could the referees possibly doing that you can't do in front of the media? I think that's surprising.
This has got alarm bells ringing. I think Jim McLean back in the day, remember Roma? What are they scared of it here?
Tinfoil helmets. Right, Mick, I know that you're just about to go in to see Brendan and get Celtic's update. I think the worrying news is that we're not sure at all that Cameron Carter-Vickers is going to play any part in this game.
No, but I'd like to believe he took part in some training this morning back in Scotland. But whether or not he was actually on the plane to come here, we'll find out when the touchdown, because I'm not entirely sure as yet. We'll find that out. I think there's a bit of doubt whether he's actually going to travel. So I think he is still struggling a wee bit with this kind of metatarsal problem he's got. I think if it's any way, shape or form he can play, I think he would play him. I think if he can patch him up and get him out, he would do. So I think it's interesting. We'll find out very shortly. But if he touches down in Italy, if he lands, I think you got to suspect that he might well play. If he's on the trip, you probably think he'll patch him up and get him out there, wouldn't you?
No much point in making the journey if he's not going to play. I would agree with that. Right?
I think if he's here, I think that's a good indication he'll play. I have my doubts he's going to be on that plane, but we'll find out very, very soon.
Well, that'll be breaking news in the next wee while. Then we'll look forward to your updates from Italy. Earlier today, Michael, you were at the stadium to meet Gianpiero Gasperini. What a character, eh? What a guy he is.
Great. I mean, listen, you know yourself, having dealt with kind of Italian managers through the years, they can be quite surly and quite kind of standoffish and not the most friendly guys. This guy was happy to chat away. He was outgoing. I mean, he didn't say anything particularly controversial, let's be honest, but he was happy to talk at length, spoke very well about Celtic, very knowledgeable about Celtic. A lot of respect for Brendan Rodgers and the way they play. I thought he was good. It's interesting. I mean, take from this what you will, but I asked him about this. Do you think that what did he make of the kind of attacking philosophy from Brendan Rodgers, and does he think that's going to be sacrificed slightly tomorrow night, given what happened in Dortmund? And he based it onto a kind of very long-winded kind of it wasn't really about Celtic and such, more about his own kind of
His own
ethos.
principles.
Yeah, and he basically saying, no, you've got to be true to yourself, you've got to be brave and all that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you would say that, wouldn't you?
I sit there like that. Yes,
like,
Brendan.
Like,
Stick to the game plan.
You just stick to your high horse. Yeah, Brendan, yes, you stick to your attacking philosophy to now. Like,
and we'll just pick you off.
So there was a wee bit of that involved as well. I thought, yeah, it's a very easy answer to give, isn't it? Yes, please do go gung-ho here, like, against one of the best counter-attacking teams in Europe.
but you know what he means, though, because he is a guy who sticks rigid. Well, I've got to say rigidly to his principles. His principles are really fluid. That's the agony. It's like attacking chaos, organised chaos, very similar to what Jurgen Klopp sort of brought to Dortmund, they brought to Liverpool. They come at you from all angles. And there's moments when you look at Atalanta, I'm not quite sure who's meant to be playing what position here. They're just coming at us from everywhere.
Yeah. And listen, we know the kind of cliched kind of Italian style of getting the job done and defending and defend first and then go from there. But it's not
That's
that.
Not them.
He admits that himself. It's a different approach altogether, and it's exciting. But listen, he took some sore ones as well back in the day. I think he mentioned himself. They lost 5 to Liverpool, 5 to Man City, and they learned and developed. Did all the things that Celtic need to do at this level. Take those beatings and learn from them and work a way out that you can play offensive football and not get battered. And we're back here again with Celtic tomorrow night, finding out if they can learn from that and not get battered.
What about Atalanta, the state of their squad? Is there a potential for them missing 1 or 2 players? I was hearing earlier on today, Mick.
I think you said there were 1 or 2 doubts, but things like Lookman come off at the weekend. I think he's going to be fine. They're going to be pretty strong.
That's bad news. Lookman's excellent, isn't he?
I think he's going to be fine. I think that was just a precautionary, to be honest. Audio here. I'll go for a wee wonder. I'll take you on a wee tour.
Yeah, do that. In terms of what sort of crowd and atmosphere are we expecting at the stadium tomorrow? Is it going to be a lively one, Michael?
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, this is not really seen as a kind of football town. To be honest,
No,
it's weird.
Not.
In fact, the taxi driver came across. He said the big sport in this place is water polo. Which I said to him, I said, after the summer in Scotland, I think it'd be the same. Something similar. So yeah, they've really got on board. I mean, I think the crowd it holds about 24,000. With a full house, pretty lively. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good 1,500, 2,000 here, giving Celtic a bit of backing. So it's going to be a really lively atmosphere. But what I think this time is there's a different mood among Celtic fans. I was speaking to a few today. Going to Dortmund, they're optimistic, thinking this was going to be a chance to go and take a scalp and get a good result. After that one, they're coming here thinking, this could be another doing. I think there's a real fear that this could be a real tough night. I think Atalanta are a better team than Dortmund right now.
I think they're more dangerous going forward, and that's the worry.
I think they're a stronger side than Dortmund at the moment. And they're coming on to form as well. I mean, a wee bit slower at the start of the season, but they're coming on to better form. I think they're a real problem for Celtic tomorrow night. I think this is going to be another examination. And we're back into this movie where Celtic can they perform away from home against a real good team and not end up with a dull one. And that's where they are.
What do you expect Brendan Rodgers to do, Mike? He says that he won't change. Do you believe him, or do you think he will just tweak it and make just little adjustments to make Celtic tighter and harder to play through? Surely that's what he's going to do here.
I think so. I don't quite buy this. I don't think he's not quite as ideologically rigid as like Ange Postecoglou was.
Yeah,
I think he is a little bit more. I don't quite buy the kind of. He's not gung ho. He didn't go gung ho in Dortmund either. They did try a kind of mid press and it just didn't work because they just played through them. So I think he will have worked on a different way of playing. It won't be a kind of 5-4-1 try and see it out kind of job. It won't be that, but there will be tactical changes. I don't think you'll see your 2 advanced midfield players being quite as advanced and trying to press that high up the pitch against this team. I don't think you can afford to do it again. I think that would be fairly catastrophic. It doesn't work either.
Well, it was a suicide note in Dortmund. He just can't be so stubborn that just to stick 2 fingers up at people. He goes out and goes, same again, lads. Because I think you're right. I think there's a high level of peril involved in this match. But
I think so. I mean, and they've really got to be wary of this. I say this team are dangerous. So they can't. I think Dortmund. I don't think it was so much the actual game plan as such. I think the players lost faith in the game plan quite quickly. I think I mentioned it last time. The first couple of minutes, they tried to press high at the pitch, middle of the park, and get bypassed so easily. Yeah. And they thought, oh no, we can't. This is not going to work. And they end up being kind of getting caught kind of between two kind of styles. Do they sit back and try and see it out, or do they try and press? And they caught doing neither.
Yeah.
And they were rabbits and headlights. So they need to have a game plan and stick with it this time.
Okay, Mike. Well, look, I know that you're pushed for time. You need to go and see Brendan Rodgers. Before you go, give us your score prediction, please, mate.
I mean, I've got to admit, I can only see Atalanta win. I think Celtic, if they get beat 2-1, 3-2, 3-1 even, they would probably take it and go on and get back to home, the home games. Avoiding a 5 and 6, I think, is the key in the morning. I know that sounds pessimistic, but I think that's realistic at this point in time. I think if they can get out with a close game and be competitive for 90 minutes, even lose, I think that's not a bad thing. But they need to be competitive. That's what they need to see a performance tomorrow night, that's competitive, and avoiding another one of these horrible 4, 5, 6-0 scuddings. That's the objective. The points are a bonus.
Take your points when you're in Glasgow. That's what I do.
Correct.
Brilliant, Mike. Listen, safe home and enjoy the game tomorrow.
No worries. We'll catch up with you later.
Thanks, pal. You stay out of trouble tonight as well.
Quiet night. We bowl a pass to my bed.
Yeah, I've heard that too many times from Mick Gannon. I think we all know it's nonsense. We've got another Mick watching live on Twitter. He's commented, I don't think it's the same Mick, got the absolute fear for Champions League away games ever since I went to Atletico Madrid. I don't think you're the only one, the only Celtic fan in that camp, Mick. I hesitate to say, have we been too pessimistic here for Celtic? I don't think we are. I think we're just being realistic, aren't we?
It's just the gut feeling, isn't it? When these big games come. I don't know if Atalanta a few years ago would have been in this category, but they are now for a reason. It's the players that can hurt you, like you mentioned. Lookman. Remember, Lookman was linked with Celtic. I think Lee Congerton could have brought him to Celtic a good few years ago.
Lookman was trawling around all over the place from kind of club to club. Couldn't really make an impact. He wasn't catching fire anywhere.
Congerton took him
the transformation.
And then not single-handedly, but he didn't have to do the damage in that Europa final last season, didn't he? A couple of months ago.
He was unplayable. He was unplayable against Liverpool as well.
Yeah, the one thing I remember from that game, the Liverpool fans actually applauded Atalanta off the park, said thrown them a new one. Remember that?
What was it? 3-0 at Anfield.
Aye.
Astonishing. Van Helsing, watching on YouTube. Hopefully give a good account of ourselves tomorrow. I think that means young people chat tomorrow. Don't want another drubbing, but mon the hoops. Fingers crossed. Listen, I tell you what we'll do, Fraser, right? Because this is quite interesting. A good Italian insight into Atalanta and what they think of Atalanta over there and what they think about how this game's going to go. As I said, my old friend of mine, Fabio Licari from Gazzetta dello Sport, I caught up with him earlier in Milan, just before he went away to a Juventus press conference in Turin, as a matter of fact. And here's what Fabio thought about tomorrow night's match. So I was thinking this morning, Celtic have got a really difficult Champions League trip to Bergamo and Atalanta, Fabio, and I just thought I'd catch up with you just to get an idea of what you guys are thinking about this Atalanta side and about the manager, Gasperini, who is doing an incredible job. I imagine the Italians will be fairly confident going into this match.
Yes, I think that Gasperini has not the name of Allegri, Spalletti, Mancini, the big name of our football, but I think he is the best, he is the number one, because it's different from every other Italian coach. He has an idea, he has a philosophy. It's a very strong philosophy. He thinks just about a team aggressive, dominant, who have the ball, who run a lot, who is vertical, go deep to the area of the opponent. And Atalanta in the last 4 or 5 years, I think, my idea, played the best football in Italy. For sure, Atalanta is not the best player like Juventus, Milan or Inter. But if Gasperini can have the player of Inter, Milan, Juventus, for sure Atalanta will win the league. And in fact, won the Europa League last year.
Yeah, Fabio, I watched them play Liverpool at Anfield and they destroyed Liverpool at Anfield. And that's why I think there's a bit of concern. Celtic had a really bad result. They lost 7 goals against Borussia Dortmund in the last game. I think this could be just every bit as dangerous for Celtic.
having watched that game against Liverpool, Atalanta, they attack from everywhere.
Yes, they attack from everywhere. The fact, okay, maybe Gasperini asked too much to his players. So what happens? Sometimes Atalanta show like a strange movement, like a parabola, no? Fantastic, good match. After 2 or 3 match, bad, because the player needs to recover from the situation, and after start again. In this moment, not good for Celtic, start again in Atalanta. In the last match was very good, was fantastic. Gasperini it's not like an Italian team. Now there is no school like before. So Juventus can play offensive, and I don't know, Borussia Dortmund can play defensive. But Atalanta play always in the same way.
Attack.
You remember Guardiola said to play against Gasperini is to go to the dentist. It's historical. It's historical. Gasperini, Guardiola said before City Atalanta match, and there's a reason, because City suffered against Atalanta. He said it's like to go to the dentist, and it's very, very painful. Gasperini joke about this quote, but it's the truth. I think that this year Atalanta, because the Atalanta is another philosophy respect Milan, Inter, Juventus, has to grow, the player grow in Atalanta, and after they sold play like Cup Miners this year. But if Atalanta can have the budget of a big team, I think. And there is one more thing about Gasperini. In the last years, there was a voice, a rumor, the players are good just with Gasperini. When they leave Atalanta, they are not good. And he has a bad character, so it's difficult to manage for him a great team. Because he has a bad experience in Inter, many years before, after Mourinho. And Mourinho is like from the old era to the new era. Interchange totally with Mourinho. Benitez has a lot of problem. Arrived Gasperini, and Inter gave him something like 2 matches before firing him, because they have not patience to wait for him. But it was a big mistake. Gasperini need some time to build a team. Now the team is built.
He's 8 years, Fabio, at Atalanta now. He's been in charge for 8 years.
9 years, I think. 9 years in Atalanta. 9 years. And because he's now more than a coach, he's more than a trainer, he's a coach. He's like, you can say, Ferguson in Manchester United, the relationship with the ownership. Now the ownership is a stranger, but the old owner are in the board just to organize everything. And Gasperini is a man of society. He had sometime the possibility and the idea to change. For example, after Europa League, it was the first victory in his life, he was tempted to change team. But after he said, no, better I stay here, I can start again a cycle. And I can imagine that Atalanta can be one of the first 4 in the final ranking of Italian league, for me.
I know, I think they're maybe 6th or 7th in Serie A just now. So, you know, not the best start. But is Gasperini...
No.
Is he prioritising as the number 1 target to be successful in the Champions League? Is that the big thing for Atalanta this year?
No. He's a coach that doesn't choose a target, not Campionato, not Champions, because Atalanta, you know, everything Atalanta get is a big result, because Atalanta can't ask more. Is a small town, is a small team. It's a different perspective. It's not a big team. But it's normal that he start just a little slow, because change a lot of players even this season. Out Cup Miners. Cup Miners was with Ederson, the central player in Atalanta. They have to change many things. And arrived Zaniolo, but Zaniolo was injured. And in defense too, they try to buy someone in the center, to buy something on the right, on the left side. So he has to organize again the team. But after 2 months, start to run. Samardzic is a potentially top player. 3 or 4 years in Atalanta, always at the same level, always close to became top, and after come back. Now 3-4 matches, and suddenly we see another player. Lookman, Premier League sent off, And now Lookman destroyed Leverkusen. And De Ketelaere was desperation in Milan. Milan after 1 year said, please go away. And in Atalanta, De Ketelaere was number one. He's a magician. I am a personal admiration for Gasperini, even because I remember when I was young, when I was 11, 12, I am from Palermo, south of Italy. Palermo played in second division in Italy at the time, and Gasperini was number 10 of this team. Many times Palermo has not the courage to put him in the 11 starting the match. When they put in second half, Gasperini played like a small Platini on the field. And it's strange the fact that Gasperini as a player was a very technician, was a lot of class. And now as a coach is aggressive, running, physical. He changed his image. It's just a personal memory.
Yeah. Okay. Well, two more questions for you, Fabio, and I'll let you go. I know you've got Champions League. Are you doing Juventus today? You're going to speak to Juventus? Okay. Well, two questions. One, can you give me your prediction? What do you think they expect the final score for Atalanta versus Celtic?
Atalanta versus Celtic, I think that Atalanta can win 2-0 or 3-1. I think Atalanta always try to score, I saw Celtic, very unbalanced team, fantastic the first match, desperation the second match. I don't know. Atalanta is more close to Borussia Dortmund.
Of course, and if Celtic are so open in midfield as they were in Dortmund, Atalanta will find a way. They will get through.
I think. Yes.
I've gone 3-1. I've gone 3-1 as well. And the only other thing, Fabio, since we last spoke, how many Scottish players are now in Serie A? It's incredible. We have taken over your top division.
But I think no. But I think that it's football is moment, is cycle. In this moment, Scotland is better than before the last 10 years. Now Scotland is playing in Nations League, first division, is playing at level of the best team. It depends on the play. Okay, it's not Germany or France, but you saw Italy arrived from the Euro that was a disaster. It won in France 3-1, and I was there. I covered national team. Yes. Italy can win 5-1 if the result was right. Italy dominated the match. So in the football, things change. If you have McTominay, if you have Gilmour, it's another team. I think Scotland has always a so big heart for us, for Italian. Yeah. It's fantastic to have a match in Scotland. We don't like to have Atalanta Celtic. We would like to have Celtic Atalanta because to breathe the atmosphere in Celtic, in Rangers, in Scottish field, like national team. I always hope that they play against Scotland to have the sensation to be in the stadium of Scotland. So
and to get a drink of whiskey.
And drink a beer with you after the match, for sure.
Brilliant, Fabio. Thanks, man.
Or whiskey when you gave me whiskey after the football match. But always fantastic memory from Scotland. Always.
Aye, some boy.
Wow.
Fabio Licari there.
What about that accent?
That's brilliant, isn't it?
I'm almost embarrassed to talk after that guy. That's fabulous, man, honest. He could have been saying anything there, and I'd just be nodding.
Just hanging on it.
Absolutely brilliant. What a guy.
But I tell you what he did say. He did say a couple of really interesting things. The best, in his opinion, Gasperini, the best coach in Italian football. That tells you what Celtic are coming up against.
Aye. I mean, I've heard a lot written about him. That's probably as strong a statement as I've heard. There's no doubt. It's the word chaos that frightens me, Keith.
Yeah.
Having played at a far lower level, when teams launch chaos at your defence and you're chasing shadows, not knowing who's over your back, that's just a scary prospect. It's could be a long night for Celtic.
I tell you the other brilliant quote from there about Pep Guardiola saying, playing against Gasperini is like going to the dentist.
I read that one today. Aye. Anything positive to say about this trip to Italy? Why would you want to qualify for the Champions League if this is what you're up against?
It's just pain. It's like going to the dentist seat every couple of weeks. Yeah. Hazel 67 watching on YouTube. Evening all. Just keep it tight. Come on, you boys in green. And counterbalance to that, Dennis Mirren, another 6 or 7 lost tomorrow night in Bergamo. Well, look, do you know what? It'll be what it'll be. And as I said, join us on Hotline Live from about 8 o'clock tomorrow night, just after the TV coverage is finished, and we're going to do a kind of deep dive analysis into in what went on.
Keith, can I just say, it has been very negative, that last comment, particular for Dennis Mirren. Celtic have a chance. They always have a chance. They've got good players. They just need to absolutely be on it tomorrow night. Absolutely.
I'm guessing
a draw would be a fantastic result.
I'm guessing that Dennis Mirren wouldn't agree with you that it would be a fantastic result. I think Dennis might be coming at things via Facebook Live, but from a different side of the city, perhaps.
There you go.
One last point on this game: the Bosnian ref Ifran Peljito. Interesting experience. He sent 2 Celtic players off in Rotterdam last year in the Champions League, Laga Bielke and Thiago home, on what became a difficult night, obviously. It's so important that Celtic keep their discipline, Fraser, on this match.
Look, if you learn one thing more than anything for last season's Champions League group stage for Celtic, that's it. How many games did they have a man sent off early and just leave himself an impossible task? That was the worst one. A very winnable game, or at least get off to a good start with a draw, and they just imploded with those red cards. Look, my memory's not the best. I remember that one of them was a wee bit soft. I can't quite remember the 2 red cards, but to get 2 men sent off away in a Champions League tie.
I think it was fairly naive stuff, to be honest. I think it was naive stuff from the 2 of them, and they put Celtic bang in trouble. I keep saying about this Champions League new kind of phase that we're in. The points are there for Celtic to win at home. I really do think it's just about trying to build a bit of confidence and a bit of momentum from these away games. As you're right, if Celtic could come home with a draw, wow, that would be a sensational result. Bear in mind, this Atalanta team has already drawn with Arsenal in London this season, so that's the standard that Celtic are going to come up against. Still, we shall see tomorrow night. In terms of domestic matters, Fraz, the Rangers thing refuses to go away. Contact here by Jamie Thompson from Yoker. Clement was never the right manager for Rangers, and his signings are soft, with no fight and have no bottle. If Rangers lose on Thursday, obviously Steaua Bucharest at Ibrox, then Clement should be sacked by Friday, and Kevin Muscat should be the manager. Kevin Muscat's name's coming up and up, Fraser, on more than one occasion in the hotline.
There's a couple today. I did the hotline. There's a couple of them at the very top of the hotline shouting for Muscat. Is it Shanghai at the moment? Is that right? Shanghai Port?
Yeah, and I think the Chinese season's just about come to an end, isn't it?
That'd be another shot in the dark, wouldn't it? I mean, everything's a gamble these days, appointing managers. Who's to say Kevin Muscat obviously knows the club, but who's to say be any better? I don't know. One thing I was going to say in Rangers, last time I think me and you were on alone was just after they'd taken Malmo to task in their opening Europa game. I thought there was signs then. Was that at the start of October?
That was easily their best performance of the season, without
thought
question.
they're going to kick on now. That the signs of something happening there. I thought Bajrami and even Dessers looked like they were forming an understanding, because the game before, I think Bajrami had laid 2 on a plate for Dessers, and I thought it was looking quite positive for them. And since then, they've just completely fallen off a cliff. It's horrendous.
Yeah,
so it's very hard to defend Clement, other than the fact he is the scapegoat, as that banner said at the moment, because there's basically nobody above him or below him in the important positions.
Yeah, but you know what? See, if there was the best chief executive in British football and the most experienced chairman, it still comes down to what the manager's achieving on the pitch, and that's where Clement's got a serious credibility problem right now. Ian Renton, normally I would get really annoyed when Rangers lose, but the Kilmarnock result didn't bother me at all. I can only assume that I'm getting used to Clement's boring tactics and no longer expect to win every game. Well, it kind of sums up the malaise at Rangers just now, Fraser. An interesting few days ahead. I mean, this is a massive game, and all our focus right now is on Celtic in Italy tomorrow night. But by Thursday night, you know, it's a real hotbed for Clement to be walking into. He wants to get the atmosphere rocking. He wants to get that Thursday night feeling back into Ibrox. But I just wonder if the hostility could be aimed more at Rangers than at the visitors on Thursday.
If they don't make a good start, you're bang on. That Ibrox crowd aren't long in letting you know They need a result. If it's going to be a draw, then it has to be a right good performance to go with it. But I was looking at, are we still allowed to call them Stoya Bucharest? I was looking at their results
I don't know.
recently.
It's just a bunch of letters now, isn't it?
Aye, FCSB. They're 10 unbeaten. They look to be in really strong form domestically and in Europe. Don't know a lot about them, I have to admit. I spent most of the day looking at what Celtic are going to come up against, but going by those results they've had recently, this is going to be a right tough test for Rangers. And on the evidence of Sunday, I don't hold out an awful lot of hope, I have to admit.
No,
I think they need to get the midfield sorted. You know, Diamande came in as a $4.5 million signing, and he was meant to be this all-action midfielder, could do everything. He's not doing it at the moment. Connor Barron, this is maybe extremely harsh, but I think Aberdeen's midfield is much better now that they've replaced him. And then Tom Lawrence in front of them, just it can be a flash in the pan, can be brilliant, but he's not consistent enough. I just think in front of that, you got the problem of Cyril Dessers leading the line. I just think right through the important engine room of that team, there's problems, and they need a massive improvement on Thursday night to have any chance.
Yeah, a lot of doom and gloom here tonight, isn't there? The start of another exciting European week for Scotland.
Mention Hearts. The Critch ball, get on the Hearts.
Well, yeah, look, do you know what? We'll do that, and we'll do it later in the week. But for now, Fraser, I think we've wasted enough of everybody's time. And as I said, we are back tomorrow night, slightly later time at 8 o'clock. Come on, straight after the Celtic game. And let's see what we're dealing with then. Who knows? Maybe it might be a surprise.